Did you know that Johannesburg is one of the biggest man-made forests in the world? Now I know that's a weird fact for me to bring out in a car show, but the reality is, for most of us, especially now during lockdown, we have been confined in this concrete jungle. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially now coming to holiday season. Many of us perhaps would have gone overseas or would have gone out and about, but the reality is that most of us are going to be tourists in our own country. So today we decided to do things a bit differently. The producers have tasked me to go and explore, and what better way for me to do that than in the new Mini Countryman. Our journey has begun, and as you saw, we started off in Johannesburg CBD. Now, we all know that cars like this work well in the city. And even though this is the Mini Countryman, so it's the biggest Mini you can get, it still doesn't feel quite large in the city. It still felt quite nimble, and I was actually quite happy with how it performed in traffic. So we're currently in the S variant. I have got a 2-litre turbo that produces 141 kilowatts and 280 newton meters of torque. In the city, I barely had to get into sport mode. This car had plenty of torque and power for what I needed to do in the city. I also do have a 7-speed automatic gearbox, and that also works quite nicely. So driving day to day, it does make a lot of sense. But the fact that this is the Countryman, this is the Mini that you want to do small adventures with. So what better way for us to do that than to go to Dahlstrom, and hopefully we can get some pancakes along the way. So let's go for a drive. So we are now 3 kilometers from Dahlstrom. We've done a couple of 100 kilometers, and I must say, so far so very good. One thing I do really like about this new Countryman is just how comfortable it is on the road. These few last kilometers have literally been quite easy in this car. It's been quite a nice ride. I've got a few creature comforts that I've really enjoyed in this vehicle. For instance, I've got the Harman Kardon sound system. I've got the upgraded radio that gives me Apple CarPlay, and as well I've got cruise control. So this is a car that you can take on a long road and really enjoy yourself. So, some few fun facts about the town of Dahlstrom, because this trip is not only about the car, it's about being a tourist in our own country. So, from what Wikipedia tells me, Dahlstrom was deemed a city in 1893 by Paul Kruger. It's one of the coldest parts of the Mpumalanga province, which is quite interesting because Mpumalanga is generally very hot. This city is known for its fly fishing, and I'm not much of a fisher, but one thing I can tell you is that Dahlstrom is also known for its pancakes, specifically a shop called Harry's Pancakes, and I'm quite hungry right now because it's lunchtime, so I'm going to do that as opposed to fly fishing. Shawnee, tell me, are you already at Harry's Pancakes?
No change of plan. We are at Waffle Coast with delicious Belgian waffles.
So, as you heard, I guess Harry's is off the cards. Maybe on our way back. But Belgian waffles it is. Let's do some Belgian waffles. Now, quite an interesting thing. My wife actually drives the previous shaped Countryman, so I spent some time with this car looking at it from all different types of angles. And looking at this car, it looks much better, I must say. It looks more muscular, especially because this is the S. And how they've changed the bumper in the bottom, you can actually see the car looks a bit more aggressive. There's slight tweaks that they've done to the lights as well, but the biggest change for me has got to be in the rear, where they've incorporated those Union Jack tail lights, and that makes such a difference when it comes to driving at night and the overall aesthetics of the vehicle. With the Countryman's short list of aesthetic changes covered and our stomachs brimmed, it was time to head out. Minis are renowned for their go-kart-like handling, and Longtom Pass in Mpumalanga should be a great proving ground. Except there was just one problem. Murphy was like, Lord Brute, this is not going to happen. The rain also wreaked havoc on our audio equipment, so we'll save you the chore of reading subtitles and sum it up by saying the Mini felt sure-footed and poised in these treacherous conditions. At no point did I feel uncertain about how the car would react, but it was best to just pull over and wait for the rain to stop. And boy, were we in for a treat. Sometimes we simply need to stop and enjoy the moment. But what generally happens during a road trip is that we try to admire the view using our cell phones. So I'm going to actually go against what all millennials do. I'm going to put my phone away and I'm simply going to look and enjoy. So thankfully the weather has dried up ever so slightly. There's some nice sunshine coming from that side. It's still a bit damp. But one thing that I must mention, it's amazing how the Mini has grown up so much in such a short space of time, where you've got a car with such road manners. Minis were always known for being these, scruff of the neck, driver's go-kart type of vehicles. But essentially, this is just a BMW X1 with some Mini clothing on it. And that's a good thing because you've got the refinement from BMW, you've got that grown-up aspect for a consumer who has potentially grown up with the brand and still wants to carry on maturing through their life processes with a car such as this. I actually want to just talk about the new Countryman range for a second. I find it quite strange how you've got 3 options to choose from, but there's quite a big gap between the middle ground, which is this, the Countryman Coupe S, and then the Countryman JCW All-4. To me, having experienced this car, I haven't sat here lacking for power and thinking I wish I had more. And we found that in many vehicles nowadays, the second best option is often the sweet spot. And I think that just might be the case with the new Countryman facelift. I think this is probably the car to get because you don't need all that extra power, because with all that extra power also comes extra cost. And for me, I think for what you're paying for here, it's a much better bargain than what you're going to be paying for with that Countryman JCW All-4. But that's just me. With the light fading, we were nearing the end to what has been a rather eventful day with the new Countryman. The final stretch saw us taking the Mini on a short off-road trail, and soon we were at our final destination, Makaladi.